First down, make it 9, touchdown Notre Dame!
And this crowd goes wild as Indiana is going to come away with their 11th win of the season, the most in the history of Indiana football.
A little pitch, Maccabee raised to the pylon, he's in.
College football back in action. Why it's a win-win for Indiana's Big Three programs and communities. Plus, Senator Todd Young in studio on how Indiana is on course to become a key player in the shipbuilding industry.
And Rasmussen has the lead. Holy cow, what a pass.
The secret sauce behind the winning combination of Hoosier horsepower and caffeine. And
we'll introduce you to one of IU Health's newest employees. His name is Elliott, but he's not your traditional therapy dog. We'll tell you about it coming up in the Business of Health.
Inside Indiana Business is next.
From Indiana's business news leader, this is IBJ Media's Inside Indiana Business with Gerry Dick, presented by Elevate Ventures, Indiana University, and Liuna.
Hello and welcome to Inside Indiana Business. I'm Gerry Dick. Well, the air has cooled and the calendar is turning to September. Sure signs that college football is about to kick off in stadiums around Indiana and the nation. A fall ritual that brings big crowds and big bucks to college towns anxious to cash in. In South Bend, Notre Dame Stadium attracts more than 80,000 fans for Irish home games, but tourism executives say far more people come into the region, filling hotels, short-term rentals, pumping an estimated $36 million into the economy. Additional airline flights and routes are also added in the fall.
Whether you love the brand, whether you despise the brand, generally there's some sort of reaction that a fan or a viewer might have when they see the Golden Dome or touchdown Jesus. And all of that leads to the popularity and the demand driver that is the University of Notre Dame to South Bend.
And this crowd goes wild as Indiana is going to come away with their 11th win of the season, the most in the history of Indiana football.
In Bloomington, the excitement and anticipation are palpable as IU prepares to kick off after last season's historic run, which included a spot in the college football playoff. Visit Bloomington estimates home sellout games generate $6 to $7 million in economic impact, and this year those numbers are expected to rise. Athletic Director Scott Dolson says Indiana's season ticket sales are up 50% from last season, with overall ticket sales up more than 10%. And in West Lafayette, Purdue is looking for a turnaround after several disappointing seasons, including last year's 1-11 campaign. Even with the dismal on-field performance, tourism officials estimate Purdue home games generate $16 million for the Lafayette-West Lafayette economy. And in this era of NIL and the transfer portal, the economics of college football, college sports in general, take on added meaning for schools and their campus communities. To break it down, the bottom line impact, pleased to be joined by Indiana University Columbus Associate Professor of Finance, Ryan Brewer. And Ryan, thanks for joining us.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Overall, the landscape changing so dramatically in college sports with pay for play, I guess you could say, for sure. Talk about football, the overall landscape, how it's changed.
Yeah, so recently everybody knows we started with NIL for the players, and now with the new legislation, we've got the ability for universities themselves to pay players, which is putting an awful lot of financial pressure on the athletic departments all around the country, and that includes the FBS. So they're going to have to get creative in terms of how to cash flow this.
And you talk about that added pressure, that competitive pressure, I guess, for athletic departments, which really didn't have to do it before. We saw a naming rights deal just last week from IU, the field at Memorial Stadium. Indianapolis-based Merchants Bank, $50 million over 20 years. Probably see more and more of those types of things as athletic departments look for money.
It's going to seem more like commercial pro football and basketball as well. So what we had before, we had sort of a guarantee. Students were going to come, student athletes were going to be there. There were local fans. It was all broadcast on local television, which ensured a new generation of fans to come. And now that, I think, is at risk. Because now we've got cable television kind of pricing itself out of some of our households. So I think one idea would be for a donor to come in and offer streaming rights to young children for a certain fee to a university to guarantee that university that the children in the community will become fans of sports in the future, guaranteeing generational success.
That's some interesting, crazy stuff. It's really interesting. You've done some work and valuations, a lot published in the Wall Street Journal. But when it comes to economic impact for communities here, you look at communities around the country and it kind of varies the economic impact college football has on communities.
It does. That's a great point.
Yeah.
You know, so Gary, if you go to Happy Valley, Pennsylvania, or if you go to Lee County, Alabama, they're small communities, but they've got big outsized football programs in college. And their football programs generate about 3% of the total GDP of those communities. Yeah. At Notre Dame, it's a very interesting opportunity that they have there. They generate 1.5% for St. Joe County, which is South Bend, Mishawaka. But the other piece of Notre Dame is their media is only part of it. Their media and their spirit wear outsized proportion go to the university itself, which gives universities like Notre Dame more of a competitive advantage in paying these extra fees to players and coaches and coaches' release clauses, things of that nature. It's not really the same for Purdue and Indiana. They're still working on building their national brands. As
we wrap up, Ryan, looking to the future, television contracts huge, money keeps coming in, conferences getting bigger, consolidating, fewer conferences. Where do you see it? Where do you see it going?
Yeah, right now it's hard to say. There's so much turbulence in the water. But what we can see is that right now it's good to be in the Big Ten or it's good to be in the SEC. Mm-hmm. And going forward, there's going to be more coast-to-coast trips for the student athletes in these big leagues. It's going to be more professional, more commercial. Mm-hmm. And I think that it's in a good standing as colleges and athletic departments continue to learn from the private sector in interesting ways to kind of help finance the new athletic field that we have.
Yep, very interesting perspective. Ryan Brewer from IU Columbus. Thanks as always. Look forward to having you on again.
It's good to be here, Gary. Right. Thank you.
Well, coming up next, Indiana looking to restore its place as a big player in the shipbuilding industry.
Evansville's safe location on the Ohio River and available land made it the perfect place for a shipyard.
Indiana's key role in the maritime industry during World War II and the push now to move the state back into the shipbuilding spotlight. Hoosier maritime ingenuity hitting the water. That's Corn Island Shipyard on the Ohio River in southern Indiana, Spencer County, a company that has become a leading builder of barges and specialized marine structures. There's a national move gaining momentum to bring shipbuilding back to America and the Hoosier state as well. Indiana Senator Todd Young joins us now on legislation he's co-sponsoring to put the Made in America label back on ships. And Senator Young, as always, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Gary.
Okay, the Trump administration, among others, very supportive of bringing manufacturing back, but in particular shipbuilding back to the U.S. Why is that important, and how much has the United States gone away from shipbuilding?
Well, President Trump understands what I think it's important for Hoosiers and all Americans to understand, which is our shipbuilding situation in this country is acute. We don't have enough trained labor. We don't have enough shipyard space and capacity to repair and build new ships, and that has obvious national security implications. When you think about China, China has they have 5,500 ocean-going vessels, so we depend on them to participate in the global economy. We have 80, most of which is used to carry around government sort of equipment, not for the private sector. And in a time of conflict, we wouldn't have sufficient capacity if we had a conflict that lasted more than a couple of months to move all our materiel and our personnel into theater or to repair the vessels and build new vessels if necessary. So President Trump, myself, a bipartisan group in Congress aim to remedy that with some legislation we call the Ships for America Act.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute, but you mentioned the risk to national security, supply chain issues as well. As you look at the potential for Indiana, shipbuilding heritage from many decades ago, what could the potential be for Indiana?
Well, there's a lot of upside potential, and I think Hoosiers will respond to it. We are a leading steel producing state. We know that. We're a major auto manufacturer with a supply chain that can build auto components. We think they could pivot to marine components. And when you think about engines, very large and sophisticated engines are needed for these ocean-going vessels. You could imagine Cummins, for example. I was down at their Seymour plant not long ago, and they make these very engines there. So a lot of work for Indiana workers if we get this thing passed.
Yeah, okay, let's talk about the Ships for America Act, which you'd like to see passed. What are the chances?
Well, I think they're very good. We've been smart about how we crafted this legislation, knowing that we're fiscally constrained right now, even for essential investments. But some targeted tax provisions, we're going to capture existing streams of revenue and dedicate them to this project through a maritime trust fund that we would establish. And then some workforce training programs so that people can be trained to build these ships through good paying jobs or to man these vessels. So the President has been vocal about his support for this initiative. We're working with the Department of the Navy and their secretary. And again, this is a bipartisan initiative in part because people understand that this is about the China competition. We need to have shipbuilding capacity to hopefully deter a conflict, which is our objective.
Yeah, I know we're out of time, but you were in Philadelphia this week, the Philly shipyard, South Korean shipbuilder investing $5 billion there. So a lot's happening already, and I know we'll want to have you
Lots
back
of
on
foreign
the show.
capital we're bringing in. Thank you.
Senator Todd Young, thanks very much.
Thank you.
All right.
Here's what's making news around Indiana. Brought to you by the Indiana Association of Realtors. Indiana's 21,000 realtors. The neighbors you know, the experts you can count on.
Well, when the rubber meets the road in Evansville at the first of the year, it's going to add up to more money to pay for road improvements. The Evansville City Council approving a new wheel tax. It's expected to generate about $2.7 million a year. Owners of passenger vehicles to pay $20 annually, motorcyclists $10 a year, and those who own and operate heavy trucks to pay about $30. The money will go towards street resurfacing, sidewalk upgrades, and curb work. And thousands of acres of green in southern Indiana will soon turn brown. The U.S. Forest Service moving forward with a plan to revitalize the Hoosier National Forest's ecosystem in Jackson County. The plan calls for controlled burns on close to 38,000 acres of the forest over 15 years, which environmental officials say is needed due to an overcrowding of trees. Coming up next, meet IU Health's first furry four-legged mental health tool. See how Elliott, the canine therapy officer, is supporting hospital staff with dealing with anxiety and stress.
We've already seen him in quick interactions with our clinical team, with our police officers, where they just see him and they're happy. And that's his job. That's his whole job.
Well, IU Health has a new employee, but he doesn't wear scrubs. Meet Elliott, now on duty at Methodist Hospital in Indianapolis, but he's not your typical canine police dog or even therapy dog. Business of Health reporter Kylie Valletta here now to tell us about his special assignment. Kylie.
Thanks, Gary. Therapy dogs at hospitals comforting patients are a common sight, but Elliott's duties are different. His main role is to be a therapy dog for team members at Methodist, doctors, nurses, even hospital police officers who may be having a tough day.
Come on, Elliott.
On the job just a few short weeks, Elliott is already sniffing out smiles.
It's just happiness. It's a reason, and he is so inviting and happy to see anybody, and it just makes you feel happy and smile.
IU Health Police Chief Shannon Trump made it her mission to hire Elliott at Methodist. A retired police officer, she saw the impact a therapy dog had on her police department, and new medical staff would see the same benefits.
A nurse had come up and she was on her way home, and she had you could just tell she'd had a really tough shift. She snuggled with Elliott for a bit and then thanked us, and you could just see that change in her. But just things like that, and we've seen that multiple times already in his short deployment.
Elliott is the first therapy dog in the IU Health system assigned to staff.
If team members or units or we as a police department have a critical incident, he can be deployed in those scenarios to attend those debriefings and help people kind of get through some hard times that they see on shift.
And handling a hospital setting is high on his resume.
It's busy, it's fast-paced. He can sit right in the hallway of the emergency room, and EMS can come in wheeling a cot, and he'll just sit as it rolls right by.
Snuggle, Elliott.
And his talents go far beyond the typical sit or stay.
There are specialty commands with Therapy Canine. So his command is snuggle. So if somebody sits on the ground, he can snuggle next to them. He'll actually crawl into your lap if you want him to. He has a visit command where if you're sitting in a chair, he'll rest his head and his chin. Because again, we know just that pressure and feeling of a dog. He does like to get a treat when he gives knuckles, but he will do knuckles. It's like a fist bump.
Elliott is officially a member of the Department of Public Safety team and goes on calls with hospital police officers.
When he's not, he's sleeping in the office, but he doesn't get written up. He's my only officer who gets to sleep in the office and not get written up.
It's the reason I like to come to work.
It's all good medicine for clinical caretakers, now with their own caretaker.
Hi. You make all our days better, don't you?
Yeah.
And studies show interacting with therapy dogs lowers blood pressure and cortisol, which is a stress hormone, and increases oxytocin and dopamine, which are happiness hormones. Fort Wayne-based Parkview Health is expanding its footprint even further. The healthcare system is planning to build a $150 million hospital and medical office building in Lebanon, just off I-65. The news comes less than a month after Parkview announced plans for a new $200 million hospital up the road in West Lafayette. Construction in Lebanon is expected to start next year.
The IU story, more a different kind of innovation, I guess, at
Right.
IU. Are other IU hospitals in the mix for therapy dog?
Yes, IU Health North in Carmel is next in line. Their dog graduates the end of September, so that should be very soon. The goal is to get one therapy dog in every hospital for staff. They already have them for patients. One interesting nugget about Elliott, he works a 12-hour shift just like the medical staff, but he gets 2 mandatory naps per day.
And maybe some extra dog biscuits.
Right,
too, right?
that's right.
All right, Kylie, thanks.
Yeah.
Well, up next, the connection between IndyCar's Rossi, Rasmussen, and Made in Indiana caffeine.
Alex and Christian are both great competitors. That doesn't always translate to a smooth workplace.
Next, find out how an Indiana coffee maker and Ed Carpenter Racing have teamed up to produce a winning recipe.
Time now for our Eye on Education, brought to you by PNC Bank.
While students at Anderson University are just getting back to class for a new school year, parents can start budgeting for next year. Anderson announcing it will freeze tuition rates for the 2026-27 academic year. More than 1,500 undergrads are enrolled at the university, and tuition costs are around $38,000 per year. Well, Marian University has just announced 2 new developments at its Riverside Education Innovation District. AES Indiana investing about $375,000 over 5 years to support those projects, including renovation of space for an early childhood center at the historic former LaRue Carter VA hospital property.
We made the education of our youth top priority. When you see educational attainment drive, you see wages go up, family stability, you see investment, creation of new jobs and a new future. Not to mention the moral and ethical imperative that every child, we've never met a child, we can't conceive of a child doesn't deserve the best shot.
The other project, Vincennes University, partnering with Marian to create a career and technical education center. They estimate hundreds of students will visit the center from different high schools for training in a variety of industries. Well, if you haven't seen this, you really need to take a look at it. Christian Rasmussen's pass by Alex Palou for the win at the Milwaukee Mile. It was one for the ages, really a great move. Rasmussen and teammate 2016 Indy 500 champ Alexander Rossi taking 2 of the top 4 spots last weekend. Now, both drivers are part of Indiana-based Ed Carpenter Racing, a team on the move, fueled in part by sponsorship from a Purdue entrepreneur. A little caffeine.
Keep your eyes on the ECR cars.
Some of the fastest race cars on the planet.
Rasmussen is gutsy. Rasmussen is brave.
That combo helping fuel a Carmel-based IndyCar team to victory lane for the first time in 4 years.
winning is great for morale. You know, it brings everyone together, makes everyone feel good, it gives everyone confidence, and, you know, there's nothing much better than the winning feeling. So when you taste it.
Ed Carpenter Racing knows a thing or two about taste. They joined forces a year ago with Heartland Food Products, based in Carmel, a company that produces Splenda Sweetener and Java House coffee. What's happened since then? Lines knee-deep at IndyCar tracks, fans thirsting for a free sample of Java House coffee.
We're a global brand. Most people know our business through our Splenda brand, but we felt that this was a really amazing opportunity for the brands to get exposure, especially some of our new products. And we talked about Java House, the Java House beverage system. We have peel and pour coffee products, tea, energy drinks, hydration products. And what we've done with the ECR relationship is we have our brands on the cars, but we also activate at the races.
There's a lot of different partners in our sport, but when you have something that the race fans can physically connect with, hold in their hands, drink, you know, even after successes like this weekend, we're able to offer promotions through Java House to drive more traffic into the locations or the website. Just a way easier and more fun way to connect with fans rather than maybe promoting something more abstract.
An IndyCar race winner! Sensational! Bravo!
Ed Carpenter's recipe for success, a combination of speed, lattes, and caffeine.
Having more stability right now relative to some of the previous years we've gone through really just makes it easier to focus on what we need to focus on, and that's being successful, execution, competing, and improving.
It's exciting and it's nerve-wracking, and you know, just being a race fan now, but having you know, your own drivers driving your cars and your brands around the track is absolutely thrilling.
And Ed Carpenter Racing getting ready to break ground on its new headquarters at Grand Park in Westfield. And you'll hear from Ed on that move a little bit later this year. That's all the time we have for this edition of Inside Indiana Business. We leave you this week with more IndyCar racing as the series winds down this weekend in Nashville. Thanks for joining us. I'm Gerry Dick. Go out and make it a successful week.